Belinda and HarperAudio Australia present this unabridged recording of Weathering the Storm, written by Mandy Magro and read by Alicia Banit. For my beautiful daughter, Chloe Rose, you're my greatest accomplishment, my biggest inspiration, and the reason I strive to always be a kind, compassionate human. I love you, sweetheart, to the moon and back, always and forever. 143. Second chances sometimes turn out the way they were meant to be. That is, if you're courageous enough to jump off the same edge twice. Chapter 1. As evening fell, the soft glow of Montana Walker's laptop illuminated her intense concentration, casting artificial light over her recently sun-kissed, freckle-dusted cheeks. With her blue eyes focused on what she hoped would become a full-page article, her fingertips danced across the keyboard. She had spent her first 24 years calling the beautiful Atherton tablelands of far north Queensland home, and sustainable farming practices were important to her. Now, locked away in a high-rise office, she wanted to make sure she highlighted the grit and determination of the family farms she'd spent the last 2 weeks visiting and exploring, while also spending quality time with her darling mum on her 5-acre property in Yungaburra. Capturing the feel of the cane, tropical fruit, and cattle farmers' wholehearted, relentless spirit was imperative. She needed her urban readers to feel their country-blooded passion and also be empathetic to their pain. She wanted every agriculturalist to be heard, loud and clear, and for some much-needed funding to be sent their way. A combination of cyclones, droughts, and low returns because of overseas competition was taking a massive toll. She knew all too well, sadly, that the far north was often neglected when it came to government budgets. It just wasn't fair. But then, as she'd learnt in her 30 years of life, not many things were. Halting, with her bottom lip clamped between her teeth, she mindfully considered her next paragraph, one based around the mental and emotional toll on the families that survived off the land. Between measured breaths, images of her late father's weather-beaten face flickered like an old Western film through her mind, his hat pulled low and a rolled cigarette dangling from his lips. A devoted stockman, Bart Walker had given his heart and soul to the land that he now called home for eternity. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, he would always remain a 45-year-old man. If only he'd given a little of his heart to her and her younger sister Indy, as well as her mother, their lives could have been a whole lot nicer. But horses had been his only passion, and his devout love of alcohol had been his poison. Thank God for her mother's strength through adversity, and her paintings that had kept food on the table. Montana knew she wouldn't be where she was without Faye Walker's unwavering love and support. She'd stood at her father's grave as a stone-faced 16-year-old girl, relieved in a way that they were all now free of his vices. Now it seemed like a lifetime ago that he'd seemingly done all he could to make their lives hard. Her chair squeaked as she shifted, feeling again the weight of having been the one to find him dead that sunny Sunday morning. A pang of heartbreak and anger caught her by surprise, but she shook off the melancholy with a sigh. If he hadn't been so drunk, he might have survived. If he hadn't fallen asleep in the tack shed after downing an entire bottle of rum, he might not have been bitten by the deadly taipan in the first place. If he hadn't been a narcissist, just like his father had been, she might have had better memories of him. However, there was nothing to be gained from the what-ifs and if-onlys. She'd been there and done that way too many times. No, her buried emotions weren't welcome to emerge from the deep, dark place she'd stowed them away under lock and key. They did her no favours at all. Besides, now wasn't the time to relive the despair of her father's short and quite often angry existence. She had a looming deadline to meet.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?